Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about one of the most searched and misunderstood coins in American history, the Lincoln penny. Specifically, we're breaking down the wheat Lincoln penny, the 1980 Lincoln penny, their history, their value, and why people all over the internet believe a penny could be worth as much as $1.4 million. Stay to the end because the truth is shocking and it might change the way you look at every penny you own. Let's start with the history. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to honor the centésima birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This was a huge moment in US coin history because it was the first time a real person appeared on everyday American money. Before that, coins mostly featured symbols like Lady Liberty. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and on the back of the coin were two wheat stalks. That's where the name wheat penny comes from. Lincoln wheat pennies were produced from 1909 until 1958. These coins were made mostly of copper and were used during some of the most important moments in American history, including World War I, the Great Depression, and World War II. Millions of Americans carried these pennies in their pockets, and many of them are still around today. Now let's clear up a very important detail that a 1980 Lincoln penny is not a wheat penny. By 1959, the wheat design was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial. So any penny dated 1980 has the Lincoln Memorial on the back, not wheat stalks. This is where a lot of confusion starts online, and it's important to understand this before talking about value. So what is a 1980 Lincoln penny? In 1980, billions of pennies were minted in the United States. There were pennies made in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. A 1980 penny with a D mint mark means it was made in Denver. Most 1980 pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, making them some of the last mostly copper pennies before the composition changed in 1982. In normal circulated condition, a 1980 penny is worth exactly 1 cent. Even in uncirculated condition, most 1980 pennies are only worth a few cents to maybe a couple of dollars. So if you have a regular 1980 penny, it is not worth thousands or millions, but it is where things get interesting. Some 1980 pennies can be valuable if they have rare mint errors. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process. These include double-die errors where the date or letters look doubled, off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned, wrong planchet errors where a penny is struck on metal meant for another coin, or missing mint marks. Some error 1980 pennies have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on how dramatic the error is and the condition of the coin. However, none of these reach anywhere near $1.4 million. So where does the $1.4 million penny story come from? That title belongs to one of the most famous coins in the world, the 1943 bronze Lincoln wheat penny. In 1943, because of World War II, copper was needed for ammunition and military equipment. The US Mint switched penny production to steel coated with zinc. Almost all 1943 pennies are steel. But a very small number were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets from 1942. These coins were never meant to exist. Only a few authentic 1943 bronze wheat pennies are known today. Because of their extreme rarity, historical importance, and collector demand, one of these coins sold for over $1.4 million in a private sale. This is one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. This is why people think any old penny could be worth a fortune. There are other valuable wheat pennies as well. The 1909 SVDB wheat penny is extremely rare and valuable because of its low mintage. The 1955 double-die wheat penny is famous for its strong doubling and can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. These coins are real, documented, and highly collectible. So the big takeaway is this: that a 1980 Lincoln penny by itself is common and usually worth face value. It is not a wheat penny and it is not worth $1.4 million. The million-dollar stories come from rare wheat pennies, especially major mint errors and wartime mistakes like the 1943 bronze cent. But that doesn't mean you should ignore your pennies. Checking dates, mint marks, metal composition, and looking closely for errors could still lead to valuable discoveries. Many rare coins have been found in pocket change, old jars, and inherited collections. So the next time you see a penny, don't just toss it aside. That tiny coin carries over 100 years of history, and in rare cases, it can be worth more than a house. If you enjoyed this video and want more coin value breakdowns, rare coin stories, and how to spot valuable change, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your spare change might be more powerful than you think. Welcome back to the channel everyone, and today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and collectible coins in American history, the Lincoln cent. Specifically, we're talking about the famous wheat Lincoln penny, its history, why collectors love it, and the incredible values that some of these coins can reach. We'll also explore a modern penny that created buzz, the 1971 Lincoln cent, and whether it really can be worth over $1.5 million. The story of the Lincoln cent begins in 1909, when the United States Mint introduced a new 1-cent coin to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This was the first time an American president appeared on a regularly circulating coin, and it marked a huge cultural shift. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, whose initials you may still spot on some of the coins. What made the original Lincoln cent instantly iconic was its reverse design, two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent. That's why collectors refer to these early pennies as wheat pennies or wheat cents. They were produced from 1909 until 1958, and they tell a visual history of America through times of war, economic hardship, and dramatic social change. The Wheat Penny series includes dozens of key dates and rare issues. Some were minted in enormous quantities, while others were limited by time or circumstance. In the world of numismatics, condition is everything. A wheat penny that looks clean and sharp today could be worth many times face value. But rare dates and mint errors are where the real treasure lies. One of the most sought-after wheat pennies is the 1909 AS-VDB. This coin has the Designer's initials VDB prominently on the reverse, and was produced in limited quantities at the San Francisco Mint. Because so few were released into circulation, it quickly became a prized collector's item. Mint state examples in top condition can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. Another key date is the 1914 AD wheat penny, struck in Denver. It is scarcer than most other Lincoln cents from that era, and collectors will pay a premium for examples in excellent condition. Now you might be wondering about something you've probably seen circulating online. A claim that a 1971 Lincoln penny is worth $1.5 million. Let's unpack that. The Lincoln cent design was updated in 1959 to feature the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, replacing the wheat stalks. So technically, a 1971 penny is not a wheat penny at all, it belongs to the Lincoln Memorial series. Most 1971 pennies are incredibly common, with billions produced for everyday use. In typical grades, a 1971 Lincoln cent might be worth only a few cents or a few dollars in uncirculated condition. However, the story gets interesting when we consider errors and anomalies. Some coins are struck incorrectly, missing features, or with doubled images, off-center strikes, or unusual die breaks. These error coins can become collectibles because they are unique and rare. If an error is dramatic and confirmed genuine by grading authorities, it could draw significant collector interest. That said, the idea of a standard 1971 penny being worth over $1 million is almost certainly a myth. True million-dollar coins come from exceptionally rare issues or legendary rarities, like the 1943 bronze penny, which was mistakenly struck on a bronze planchet instead of the usual steel. Very few of those exist, and examples have sold for over $1 million at auction. These are real numismatic treasures, extremely rare and verified by grading experts. So it is the bottom line, wheat pennies are a gateway into the rich world of coin collecting. They carry over a century of history and many of them have a value far beyond their face value. Rare dates, mint marks, and condition can make some worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Truly legendary rarities, like error coins or extremely limited survival examples, can reach astronomical prices, but always be cautious about viral claims of million-dollar values on common coins. If you think you have something valuable, it's important to have it authenticated and graded by a reputable service. That's how serious collectors determine true market value. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed learning about wheat pennies, rare errors, and the fascinating history behind them, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. Until next time, keep hunting those treasures and happy collecting. If you want, I can tailor this script with timestamps, visuals, or narration prompts for editing. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and high-value coins in modern numismatics, the 2008 de Lincoln Wheat Reverse Penny. This coin has captured the attention of collectors around the world because it is not just a penny but an incredible piece of history with an astonishing value in the rare coin market. When most people think of pennies, they imagine common coins worth 1 cent. But some pennies are far more than their face value. Certain coins become valuable because of errors, rare design features, or low mintages. And the 2008 de Lincoln penny with the wheat reverse is one of those extraordinary coins. To understand why this coin is so important, we need to go back to the long history of the Lincoln penny. The Lincoln cent was first issued in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first time a United States president's portrait appeared on everyday coinage, and it was designed by Victor David Brenner. For 60 years the reverse side of the Lincoln penny featured 2 stalks of wheat at the rim, and that design became known as the wheat ears or wheat reverse. This design remained in place from 1909 through 1958. In 1959 the reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Lincoln cent. And this design stayed on pennies until 2008. In 2009 the reverse changed again to the Union Shield design, which remains in use today. For almost a century the wheat reverse design was a fixture on American coins, and there are many collectible varieties from that era. But in 2008 something interesting happened. The United States Mint produced Lincoln pennies with the new Union Shield reverse, but one mint accidentally used the old wheat reverse die at the Denver Mint, creating a very small number of 2008 de Lincoln pennies with the wheat reverse. These coins were not intended to be made, and they were not released in large quantities. They slipped into circulation almost unnoticed. The Denver Mint did not announce them, and few collectors even realized they existed at first. Because the number of these error coins is extremely low and they represent a link between the historic wheat reverse and the modern era, they became instantly desirable. Numismatists estimate that only a handful of these 2008 de wheat reverse pennies survive, and even fewer in high-grade condition. This rarity is one of the core reasons these coins can be worth huge sums of money. In everyday change most pennies are worth 1 cent. But rare error coins can sell for thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in very special cases millions of dollars. One particular example of the 2008 de Lincoln wheat reverse penny made headlines in the rare coin world when it sold at auction for over $1.2 million. This is one of the highest prices ever achieved for a modern United States cent. The buyer was a serious collector who recognized that this coin is more than a penny, it is a piece of minting history. So what makes this coin so valuable? First, its extreme rarity. Unlike typical coins, millions of Lincoln pennies are produced every year for general circulation. But the 2008 de wheat reverse pennies were accidental and extremely limited in number. Second, its historical significance. This coin ties together America's oldest circulating coin design and a modern era that should not have existed at all. That combination of rarity and story is exactly what serious collectors look for. In addition, condition matters enormously in the world of coins. A coin that has never been circulated and shows nowhere can be graded as mint state. The higher the grade, the closer it is to perfect condition. The most valuable examples of the 2008 de wheat reverse penny are those that have been certified in superb mint state grades by professional grading services. A high-grade example is dramatically more valuable than one that has been worn down in circulation. Another factor that drives value is demand. Many collectors around the world chase rare error coins and are willing to pay premium prices to secure them. When 2 or more serious collectors compete at auction for a rare coin, the price can skyrocket. That is exactly what we saw when the $1 million+ sale took place, but you may be wondering if every 2008 de penny with a wheat reverse is worth millions. The answer is no. Only coins that have been professionally authenticated and graded as genuine 2008 de wheat reverse error coins command that level of value. There have been counterfeit attempts and altered coins in the market, so authentication by a trusted grading service is essential. For most collectors, even owning a lower grade genuine example would be incredibly exciting. It represents a rare moment when minting history slipped into everyday pockets without announcement. It reminds us that coins can tell stories about how they were made and how they traveled through time. If you are someone who finds coins in change or at thrift shops and garage sales, you never know when you might come across something special. Most change will be ordinary, but every once in a while a rare error coin appears and changes a collector's life. To wrap up the story, the 2008 the Lincoln Wheat reverse penny is a modern numismatic legend. It connects over a century of American coinage history and stands as one of the most sought after and valuable cents in existence. Its journey from an accidental usage at the Denver Mint to selling for over $1 million is a testament to the passion collectors have for rare coins. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and value of the 2008 the Lincoln Wheat reverse penny, make sure to like and subscribe for more fascinating coin stories and collectibles content. Until next time, keep appreciating the history in your hands and never underestimate the power of a humble penny. If you want, I can also break this into chapter timestamps, a voiceover copy version, or add visuals, cues and on-screen text prompts. Welcome back, coin lovers and history fans. Today we are diving deep into one of the most iconic and beloved coins in American numismatics, the Lincoln Wheat penny, a coin that tells the story of America, holds historical significance, and has produced some of the most valuable pieces in the world of collecting. Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in the palm of your hand. 1 cent minted when horses still outnumbered cars, when radio was king, and when a simple copper penny could later become a 7 figure treasure. That is the magic of the Lincoln Wheat penny. First introduced in 1909, the Lincoln cent was issued to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first circulating coin in the United States to feature an actual person on the obverse, replacing the Liberty head design. The designer was Victor David Brenner, and his initials appear small but proudly on the coin from 1909 to 1958. 1958, the reverse side of the Lincoln cent featured what we now call the wheat ears. They seem 2 elegant stalks of wheat framing the words 1 cent United States of America, giving the coin its popular nickname, the wheat penny. Collectors around the world chase these coins for their beauty, history and variety. Over its 5-decade run, there were thousands of different combinations, mint marks, errors and rare dates, making the series endlessly fascinating. Now many people ask about the 1984 Lincoln penny, but here's an interesting twist. The Lincoln Wheat design had already ended in 1958. By 1984, the U.S. Mint was producing the modern Lincoln Memorial cent, not wheat, so 1984 wheat pennies do not exist in regular circulation. Despite that, when people talk about a 1984 penny, they are usually referring to modern cents or the possibility of an error piece. But what makes the Lincoln series truly legendary are the rarest of the rare coins that have surfaced over the years. Some wheat pennies are worth thousands, tens of thousands, and in the most extreme cases over $1 million. For example, one of the most valuable Lincoln cents is the 1909 San VDB. In its first year of issue, the initials of designer Brenner were placed prominently on the reverse. The design upset the mint and they were removed. Later that same year, most collectors seek both versions, but the 1909 San VDB in high grade is extremely scarce and can fetch hundreds of thousands at auction. But believe it or not, there are even more elusive coins. For decades, rumors circulated about ultra-rare Lincoln cents with hidden rarities. One of the most famous stories in recent years involves what some collectors call the $1 million penny. This is a coin that reportedly sold or was offered at auction for over $1.3 million due to a unique die error or misprint that was previously unknown. The coin captivated collectors because it combined rarity, condition and historical significance in a way that very few coins ever have. Stories like this fuel the passion of collectors everywhere, because unlike gold and silver coins whose value is tied to metal price, Lincoln cents derive value from scarcity, story and human fascination with history. A tiny difference in die strike or mint error can transform a humble penny into treasure. So what should you look for if you want to explore wheat pennies yourself? First, check the dates, mint marks and condition. A coin from 1909, 1914 or 1922, for example, in high grade is far more valuable than a common date. Wear and tear dramatically affects price, so find coins with clear detail, sharp rims and rich colors are another exciting category. Double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes and rare over dates can all have significant value, but remember, condition and collector demand matter. Or rare error in poor condition may still have value, but not necessarily 7 figures. If you thought a modern 1984 penny could be worth a fortune, the real lesson of the Lincoln series is that history matters more than face value. The wheat penny connects us to the past too. Abraham Lincoln, to generations of everyday Americans who saved pocket change hoping someday it would be worth something. Imagine your grandparents or great-grandparents slipping these coins into jars, piggy banks and drawers. You might be holding a story that spans more than 100 years. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Lincoln Wheat penny and the story of high-value rare cents, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more coin history and collecting tips. Every Coin has a story. What will you uncover next? If you want, I can tailor this for a specific length style or include a dramatic hook, intro, outro, or narration cues. Let me know. Welcome back, collectors and coin lovers. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and talked about coins in American numismatic lore. A coin that seems to defy history and turn heads in the coin collecting world. A coin that some say could be worth an astonishing $1.1 million. That coin is the so-called wheat Lincoln penny 1964D. At first glance, the coin looks familiar. It carries the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, faces the world in copper-toned brilliance, and carries the legendary wheat ears design on the reverse. For those who don't know, the wheat reverse was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it remained on every penny until 1958. This wheat sense became iconic, beloved by collectors, and quietly passed from hand to hand for decades. So how does a 1964 Denver coin with wheat ears exist when the mint officially stopped producing wheat pennies in 1958? And could it really be worth more than $1 million? To understand it, we need to go back into the history of Lincoln cents, the operations of the Denver Mint, and the rare circumstances that sometimes produce what collectors call an off-date error or pattern coin. The Lincoln cent was first issued in 1909. It replaced the Indian head penny and honored our 16th president. The wheat ears reverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, symbolized prosperity and growth. For nearly 50 years, that design was struck over 1 billion times. Countless pocket change rolls across America, shiny or tarnished, bore that humble wheat design. Generations saved them, lost them, traded them, and collected them. Then in 1959, the United States Mint introduced a new reverse design for the Lincoln cent featuring the Lincoln Memorial. This was part of a broader effort to modernize coinage imagery. By 1960, all circulating pennies bore the new design. The wheat reverse was officially retired. Enter the legend. Rumors began circulating that a few experimental strikes or pattern coins were made in 1964 at the Denver Mint using the old wheat reverse dies. Pattern coins are trial strikes made to test a design or a plan. They are not official circulating coinage. They are rare by nature and sought by collectors. Sometimes these patterns appear decades later in private hands. A 1964 Lincoln wheat penny, if absolutely genuine and struck at the Denver Mint with the true wheat reverse, would be historically unprecedented. No such coin is listed in official mint records. No major grading service has widely certified a genuine example as an official mint pattern. And yet the story persists because numismatics is full of mysteries and occasional miracles. But before we get swept up in the excitement of speculation, let's ground ourselves in facts. Thousands of coins have been discovered over the years that initially appear to be rare anomalies but are later identified as altered or misidentified pieces. In the case of a 1964 wheat penny, there are a few possibilities collectors consider. One possibility is that someone took a 1964 Lincoln Memorial penny and physically altered the reverse to resemble the wheat design. Skilled engravers can change coin surfaces, and sadly, many of these modifications are passed off as genuine rarities. Collectors refer to these as fantasy coins. Another possibility is that someone placed a genuine earlier wheat reverse die onto a later planchet and struck a coin outside normal procedures. While unusual, experimental dies have been used in mint facilities. But official documentation or authenticated examples would be required to prove this is real. So could a true 1964 wheat penny be worth over $1 million? In theory, yes. The highest value in coins comes from extreme rarity, historical significance, and authentication by reputable grading services. For example, the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle, a gold coin that was never officially released into circulation, has sold for millions at auction because only a handful are known to exist and each has impeccable provenance. If, and this is a big if, a genuine 1964 wheat penny were discovered and authenticated, it would rewrite the books on Lincoln cent history. The numismatic world would be electrified. Auctions would be packed with bidders. The coin could easily exceed $1 million in value because no comparable piece exists, but at this moment, it remains a legend more than a verified reality. There have been claims, there have been rumors, there have been photos shared among collectors, but no coin that meets the full standard of authenticity has been certified by the leading grading services. Without that certification, coins like this cannot be definitively valued at seven figures. That doesn't mean you should ignore unusual pennies you find in circulation or in old collections. On the contrary, every coin has a story, and every possibility deserves attention. If you happen upon a penny that doesn't match what you've seen before, take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a major grading service for evaluation. Real rarity deserves real verification. So what do we take away from the story of the legendary 1964 DeWitt Lincoln penny? We learn about the history of USA coinage and the changing designs of the Lincoln cent. We learn how rare pattern coins and experimental strikes can capture the imagination of collectors around the world. And we learn that while the idea of $1 million penny is thrilling, the truth is found in careful research, authentication, and respect for history. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into numismatic mystery, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next coin story. Leave a comment with the rarest coin you've ever found, and maybe we'll feature it in a future episode. Until next time, keep collecting, keep exploring, and keep the wonder alive in every coin you examine. If you want, I can tailor this script for a specific style like dramatic, documentary, or personable vlog narration. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the world of coin collecting with a focus on a coin that almost everyone has held in their hand at some point, the 1967 Lincoln penny. You've probably heard wild stories online about this coin being worth huge amounts of money. Some videos and posts even claim that a 1967 penny can be worth as much as $1.5 million. But just how true is that? In this video we'll explore the real history of the 1967 Lincoln penny, what makes certain pennies valuable, and separate real facts from myths. Let's start with some history. The Lincoln cent has a long and important place in American numismatics. First introduced in 1909, it was created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first regular circulation United States coin to feature the portrait of a real person. From 1909 to 1958 the penny carried the famous wheat reverse and was called the Lincoln wheat penny. In 1959 the Lincoln Memorial design replaced the wheat reverse and continued in use through the end of the 1960s and beyond. The 1967 Lincoln penny falls into this Lincoln Memorial era. It was produced during a unique moment in US mint history when mint marks were temporarily removed from coins to discourage hoarding during a national coin shortage. That means that the 1967 penny does not show a PS or D mint mark on the obverse to tell you where it was struck, which adds an interesting twist to its story but does not necessarily make it rare. In fact, over 3 billion of these coins were produced, making it one of the most common Lincoln cents ever issued. Because of their vast numbers, most circulated coins today are only worth their face value or slightly above if copper prices influence melt values. In circulated condition you can expect values ranging from a few cents to maybe a few dollars at most. Even uncirculated specimens in top grades might sell for under $100. This is very different from the sensational claims you may hear about million-dollar values for this date. The highest confirmed auction values for top-grade examples of the 1967 Memorial penny have been in the low thousands of dollars range and not anywhere close to $1 million or more. One high-grade example did sell for nearly $5,000 at auction years ago, but that is a far cry from millions. So why do these stories about a $1.5 million 1967 penny circulate on the internet? There are a few reasons. Coin collecting channels and social media posts sometimes exaggerate early circulation finds to attract views or engagement. Some creators use sensational headlines to draw attention, even if the actual documented sales do not support those claims. That's why it's so important to rely on verified auction records from established auction houses and grading services rather than rumors or hearsay. Real auction sales are documented and available through reliable numismatic sources, and in the case of the 1967 penny those records do not show a sale anywhere near $1.5 million. Now let's talk about what does make Lincoln pennies valuable. Serious collectors look for specific traits including very low mintage coins, rarer varieties and coins in top condition. A few examples include coins struck on the wrong planchet, off-center strikes, that cracks, double dies, and coins from very low mintage years like early wheat pennies. Those can reach impressive prices at auction. For example, the famous 1943 bronze Lincoln wheat cent error is one of the most coveted pennies in American numismatics, with sales into the hundreds of thousands of dollars for authenticated examples. That coin's value comes from a minting error where a few copper blanks were mistakenly struck during a year when most cents were made from steel due to World War II metal conservation. But that kind of error has nothing to do with the standard 1967 Memorial penny. In 1967 a few interesting varieties were produced for collectors, such as special mint set coins which were struck with a satin finish and were intended for collectors rather than circulation. Some of these SMS coins can be worth more than typical circulation coins, but again they are nowhere near $1 million rarities. In some cases SMS cameo examples or coins in very high certified grades may fetch several $100s at auction, but those are niche collector values and represent condition rarity more than anything else. Collectors determine a coin's worth through a combination of rarity, demand, condition, and historical significance. Rarity means very few examples exist that meet specific criteria. Demand means collectors are actively seeking that coin for their collection. Condition is judged on the Sheldon scale, which ranges from heavily worn to perfect mint state. A coin in top uncirculated condition with original surfaces is always going to be worth significantly more than one that has been handled and worn over decades. When you evaluate coins like this, it's always worth consulting professional grading services that can authenticate and grade your coin. If you happen to find a 1967 penny in your change, don't be disappointed. It's a fascinating piece of American history representing a moment when the USA Mint navigated a coin shortage and changing public habits. It may not make you a millionaire, but it can be a wonderful gateway into the larger world of coin collecting. Save examples in good condition, see how they grade, and learn more about what makes coins historically significant. Over time you will develop an eye for spotting coins that really do have high collector demand and real value. In closing, thank you for watching and thanks for being part of a community that appreciates history, artistry, and the small treasures that everyday objects can represent. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1967 Lincoln penny and would like to see more coin history and value videos, please hit like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what coin you'd love to learn about next and whether you've ever found an unusual penny in your pocket or change jar. Until next time, keep collecting and keep learning, because you never know when something ordinary might turn out to be extraordinary. If you want an alternate tone like dramatic mystery or a short viral version tailored for YouTube Shorts, let me know. Wheat penny, one of the most common coins ever made, and how some rare versions of it have sold for astonishing sums of money. The Lincoln wheat penny was introduced in 1909 by the United States Mint to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first time a USA coin featured a real historical figure rather than symbolic imagery. The obverse shows a young Lincoln facing right, and the reverse shows two stalks of wheat symbolizing prosperity and growth. This design remained in use until 1958, after which the memorial reverse replaced the wheat design. Coin collecting, for decades this penny was everyday pocket change worth just 1 cent. Millions were minted and circulated, so most of them we find today are still worth face value or maybe a bit more to coin collectors if they are in excellent condition. But even within this very common series there are rare gems that can be worth big money. Coin collecting, let's start with the most famous and legendary of them all. During World War II, copper, the traditional metal used for pennies, was needed for the war effort. So in 1943, pennies were struck on zinc-coated steel planchets to conserve copper. Almost all 1943 cents are these gray steel coins and are worth very little. However, a handful of 1943 pennies were accidentally struck on copper or bronze planchets left over from the previous year. These coins were not supposed to exist, and that mistake made them extremely rare. RobinsonFoundation.org collectors and numismatists have discovered only a few of these true copper 1943 Lincoln wheat pennies. Because they were made by mistake, they were released into circulation unaware, and only a very small number survived in good condition. Over the years, examples of this coin have sold for massive amounts at auction. In fact, one genuine 1943 copper Lincoln wheat penny has reportedly fetched around $1.6 million in a private sale, and other examples have sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions depending on condition and certification. Coins Silonas, or +1. Now let's be clear, not every old penny is worth millions. Most wheat pennies are still worth only a few cents or a few dollars, even in good condition. But rare dates, mint marks, and especially error coins can be worth huge sums. The 1943 copper error is the crown jewel in the Lincoln wheat set because it's so rare and so historically interesting. Coin projecting, comer is how you can tell if you might have something extraordinary. A true 1943 copper penny will look reddish-brown like all other classic copper Lincoln cents, not silvery steel color. If you put a magnet near a genuine copper coin, it will not stick, whereas the common 1943 steel pennies will stick to a magnet because they are steel underneath the zinc coating. If you think you have a copper 1943, do not clean it. Cleaning can dramatically reduce its value, and have it authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Robinson Foundation, org. But the 1943 copper coin isn't the only rare and valuable wheat penny. Other key dates and varieties include the 1909 ASVDB penny with the designer's initials on the reverse, the 1914 AD with a low Denver mintage, and the elusive 1922 NOD where the Denver mint mark didn't fully strike. These coins, especially in high grade, can sell for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Coin projecting, +1 errors like double dies, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes also attract collectors. A double die penny from 1955 sold for record prices because of the dramatic doubling of letters on the obverse. These coins are beloved not only for their value but for the story they tell about the minting process itself. Coin projecting, so could you have a rare Lincoln wheat penny worth a fortune sitting in a jar or in your pocket change? Absolutely yes, but such coins are extremely rare. Most Purpose pennies are common dates worth only a few cents. But the excitement is real. The idea that an ordinary piece of currency could be worth tens of thousands or even millions of dollars is what draws millions of people into the hobby of coin collecting. Coin projecting, if you find what you suspect might be a valuable penny, the best course of action is to have it examined by a professional. Don't try to clean it or alter it in any way, because that can harm its collectible value. Take clear photographs, note the date and mint mark, and seek out reputable grading services or experienced collectors for advice. Robinson Foundation, org. In conclusion, the Lincoln wheat penny is more than just an old coin. It's a piece of American history, a collectible with stories stretching back more than a century, and in rare cases, a treasure worth far more than its face value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just found a dusty penny in a drawer, there is always the possibility you've uncovered a remarkable piece of history that could be worth serious money. CoinCollecting.com. If you want a voiceover-friendly version, I can edit this into shorter segments or add catchy hooks /diagonal CTAs. Would you like a hook and intro optimized for audience retention? Questions like could you have $1 million coin in your pocket? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and collectible coins in American numismatics, the Lincoln wheat penny, and the incredible stories behind coins that can be worth enormous sums, including rumors of coins valued at over $1 million. If you love rare coins, coin collecting, or stories of everyday objects turning into treasures, then stay tuned because this video will take you from the very beginning of the Lincoln cent all the way to the rarest and most valuable examples ever discovered. Let's start with history. In 1909, the United States Mint introduced a new 1-cent coin to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. The design was special not only because it celebrated Lincoln but also because it was the first time a real person appeared on circulating American coinage. The obverse featured a detailed portrait of Lincoln while the reverse showed two stalks of wheat framing the words 1 cent United States of America. Because of this reverse design, collectors have always referred to these coins as wheat pennies for nearly 50 years. From 1909 until 1958, the Lincoln wheat penny was the coin Americans used every day when pennies were needed to pay for goods and services until the demand grew and the design changed in 1959. To the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Early issues with low mintage dates or rare mint marks quickly became favorites among collectors. For example, the 1909 San VDB Lincoln Penny is legendary, with only a small number surviving from the San Francisco Mint and carrying huge premiums in any condition. Certain varieties from the 1950s are also famous, like the 1955 double die obverse, where the doubling of lettering created a dramatic and instantly recognizable error. These coins routinely sell for thousands of dollars because collectors prize the dramatic misprint. Now here is where things sometimes get confusing. Online there are stories floating around about a 1994 Lincoln wheat penny worth $1.2 million. People see headlines or viral social media posts claiming that such a coin exists. Claims that a 1994 penny with a wheat back suddenly turned up worth millions are simply not accurate based on how the United States Mint worked and what we know from numismatic records. The Lincoln wheat penny series ended in 1958, so there were no official 1994 wheat pennies produced for circulation. Those wheat reverse pennies from the 20th century have well-documented mintages and surviving examples, so if you encounter a claim about a 1994 wheat penny worth $1 million, it is almost always a mistaken error in reporting or an internet hoax. Coins dated 1994 are Lincoln Memorial cents on production, struck from copper-plated zinc or copper nickel, and they do not carry the historical wheat-back design. Still, that does not mean pennies from the 1990s or other modern coins cannot be valuable. Rare die errors, misstrikes, and unique variations can make almost any date collectible depending on how unusual the error and how many people want that specific variety. The real $1 million wheat pennies are the ultra-rare ones from the early part of the series, like the 1909 Sandy in high grades, or coins with dramatic historical pedigrees that were owned by famous collectors or sold through major auctions. These examples can command extraordinary prices because collectors compete fiercely for coins of supreme rarity and exceptional condition. So, let's talk about value. How collectors determine how much a wheat penny is worth. When you look at one of these coins, the first thing you want to know is the date and the mint mark that tells you where and when it was made. Mint marks like D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mint mark for Philadelphia make a big difference. The second most important factor is the coin's condition. A coin that looks crisp and sharp with no wear will be worth a lot more than one that is worn and dirty. Collectors use the grading scale to describe condition, especially when coins go to auction. Professional grading services assign a numerical grade from poor condition up to virtually perfect mint state. Examples: the higher the grade, the more a coin is typically worth. One of the most iconic high-value wheat pennies is the 1909 Sandy Mile Roadshow example that sold at auction for astonishing sums because of its rarity and condition. In top grades, that issue can bring hundreds of thousands of dollars. Other rare dates like the 1914 and 1922 Nodi are consistently among the most sought after for serious collections. But remember, value is always a matter of demand. At any given moment, prices can rise and fall based on collector interest and what coins are available for sale. Rare coins rarely stay hidden forever, but when one does surface, it can create headlines and excitement in the hobby for years. Before we wrap up, I want to address why some misinformation spreads so easily online about coins supposedly worth crazy amounts, like the idea of a 1994 wheat penny worth $1.2 million. For many people, the internet is full of clickbait titles, flashy social media videos, and posts that want you to watch, engage, or share without checking the facts. Because Lincoln wheat pennies are so beloved, any claim about a rare find can attract attention. The best way to protect yourself as a collector is to learn the real history, study reliable price guides, talk to reputable dealers, and always verify extraordinary claims. If you ever think you found a rare coin, take it to a professional, have it authenticated and graded, and be careful of people who offer you quick cash online without proper evaluation. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this deep dive into Lincoln wheat pennies, their history, value, and the truth about rare high-value coins was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments what coin you want us to explore next, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a coin story. Keep collecting, and I will see you next time. If you want a version with scenes and camera directions or voiceover timing, let me know and I can expand it further. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you love rare coins, surprising values, and fascinating history, you are going to enjoy today's video. Today we are talking about one of the most talked about pennies in modern collecting, the wheat Lincoln penny from 1985 with the Denver mint mark. This is not just any penny. This is a penny that made headlines when one example sold for an astonishing $1.7 million. Sit back and let's explore how a humble 1-cent coin became one of the most valuable modern rarities ever discovered. Section 1: History of the Lincoln Cent. The Lincoln cent was first issued in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and it was designed by Victor David Brenner. For decades, the design on the reverse was what collectors now call the Wheatears design, because it shows two stalks of wheat flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America. This wheat design remained in use until 1958. From 1959 on, the reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial design. But any coin that still has the Wheatears is a link back to over 100 years of collecting history. Section 2 Modern Issues and Mint Marks. In 1982 the USA Mint began transitioning from copper cents to zinc cents with copper plating. By 1985 most pennies were largely zinc beneath a thin copper coating. The coins from 1985 were struck at three mints. The Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark, the Denver Mint which used the letter D, and the San Francisco Mint which used the letter S on proof issues. Most of these coins were produced in enormous numbers for circulation and for collectors. So for most years, including 1985, Lincoln cents are common and worth only face value or a small premium in uncirculated condition. Section 3 The unique error and rarity. Now here is where the story gets interesting. In the world of coin collecting, rare high-value pieces are almost always caused by some kind of error or exceptional circumstance. The 1985 Denver Lincoln cent that sold for $1.7 million is known as the 1985 D double die obverse. Double die errors happen when the die used to strike the coin has multiple impressions of the design slightly offset. When this die strikes a blank planchet, certain elements of the design appear doubled. These can show up on the date, on the motto "In God We Trust," on Liberty, or on other features of the obverse. The doubling must be very obvious to the naked eye to be considered a major double die and to command serious collector interest. In most years doubling does occur at low levels, but it goes unnoticed because it is minor or hidden. But in this 1985 Denver example the doubling is pronounced. Elements of the design appear thick, shifted, and almost ghosted. This makes it unmistakable and a true major error that collectors dream about. Section 4 Discovery and market reaction. For many years this coin was unknown. Hundreds of millions of 1985 D Lincoln cents circulated across America and they were stocked in rolls, jars, drawers, wallets, and piggy banks. But only a tiny fraction had this powerful doubling error. The famous example that sold for around $1.7 million was submitted to a professional coin grading service and authenticated as a major double die of extremely high quality. When it hit auction it drew the attention of collectors and investors around the world. The rarity combined with the dramatic error and the excellent condition drove the bidding to a world record price for a Lincoln cent. Section 5 Why it is so valuable. So why did this penny fetch such an unbelievable price? There are a few key reasons. Point 1 The error is dramatic and easy to identify. Collectors love errors that are clear and show big differences from normal coins. 2 The actual number of these error coins is extremely small. It is believed that only a handful exist. That scarcity makes the few known pieces priceless to the right buyers. 3 The example that sold was in superb condition with strong eye appeal, which is extremely rare for a penny that was meant to circulate. Finally the cultural appeal of Lincoln cents, one of America's most beloved and longest running coin series, gives it extra emotional value for collectors and museums alike. Section 6 What to look for. If you ever find a 1985 D penny in your pocket change, do not assume it is worth a fortune. Most 1985 D Lincoln cents are common and worth only face value. But if you suspect an error, here is what to look for. Examine the date and lettering. If the digits look doubled, thick, shifted, or blurry in a way that does not look like wear, you could have one of the error coins. The doubling on the famous example shows a clear second image of parts of the date and letters. Section 7 Conclusion and Final THOUGHTS. In closing, the 1985 Denver Lincoln penny double die is one of the most remarkable modern coin rarities. What was once a humble cent became a multi-million-dollar treasure as a result of a dramatic mint error, incredibly low survival numbers, and a passionate collector market. Whether you are a seasoned numismatist or someone who just likes the idea of hidden treasure in everyday objects, this story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the things we overlook can turn out to be extraordinary. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating coin history and rare finds. If you enjoyed this video, tell us in the comments what coin you would love to find next. I will see you in the next video. If you want, I can tailor this script to a particular tone, add narration cues, or include visuals timing. Welcome everyone. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting and one of the most beloved and legendary coins in American numismatics, the Lincoln wheat penny. These humble 1-cent pieces might look ordinary at first glance, but hidden among them are some of the rarest and most valuable coins ever sold at auction. The Lincoln wheat penny was first introduced in 1909, marking the first time a United States circulating coin featured the portrait of a real person. That person was Abraham Lincoln, honoring his centésima birthday and celebrating his legacy as one of America's most revered presidents. On the obverse, or front of the coin, you see Lincoln's profile. On the reverse, you see two stalks of wheat, symbolizing prosperity and the agricultural backbone of early 20th century America. These coins were produced for nearly 50 years, from 1909 until 1958. They were made almost entirely of copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. By the time the series ended, billions of these pennies had been struck and passed into circulation. Most of them are common, worth only a few cents or maybe $1 or $2 to coin collectors today, but among these billions, there are a few incredibly rare and valuable exceptions. These are the coins that make collectors' hearts beat faster. Let's start with perhaps the most legendary of all, the 1943 Lincoln penny. During World War II, the United States Mint switched from using copper to using zinc-coated steel for pennies. Copper was needed for the war effort. Almost all 1943 pennies were made from steel, and if you pick one up today the front and back look silvery. But a tiny number of coins were mistakenly struck on copper blanks left over from previous years. These copper 1943 pennies are extremely rare. There are fewer than 40 known examples. One of these rare 1943 copper pennies sold at auction for well over $1 million. The exact figure varies as new sales occur, but it is recognized as one of the most valuable wheat pennies in existence. This one-error coin is what drives so much excitement in the hobby of coin collecting. The idea that a penny pulled from pocket change could be worth more than $1 million captures imaginations all over the world. Collectors and experts caution, however, that many fakes exist and authentication is essential. Only a genuine example certified by a major grading service is worth real money. Another extremely rare find is the 1909 ASVDB wheat penny. This was the very first year of the Lincoln cent with the designer's initials, VDB, on the reverse. The initials stood for Victor David Brenner, the artist who designed the coin. The initials were controversial and quickly removed later in the year, making the coins with VDB very collectible. The 1909 ASVDB has a low mintage of only around 484,000 coins, and high-grade certified versions have sold for six figures at auction. Other key dates include the 1914 Eddie Lincoln wheat penny from the Denver Mint, which had a very low striking and is hard to find in high-grade condition. The 1922 plain penny where the D mint mark never fully struck is another famous variety with significant collector demand. The 1955 double die obverse Lincoln penny shows a dramatic doubling of the letters and date on the front of the coin. That error variety has been highly prized for decades. Rare varieties can also come from unexpected production errors. For example, there are 1944 steel pennies, the opposite of the 1943 copper error. When the mint switched back to copper in 1944, some steel blanks were accidentally used again. Those 1944 steel pennies are also rare and valuable. Collectors look for these coins not just because of their monetary value but because each one tells a story of history, of minting practices, and of human error. These coins are tiny time capsules that connect us with the past. So what about coins from 1968? The Lincoln wheat penny series had ended a decade earlier. In 1959 the wheat penny design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, which continued until the year 2008. In 1968 collectors were finding and saving older coins and mixing them with the newer Memorial design pennies, but no wheat pennies were produced in 1968. If you come across a wheat penny dated 1968, it is either altered, counterfeit, or misread. Always check your coins carefully. Most wheat pennies you find in change are going to be worth face value or a bit more if they are old or in nice condition. But every once in a while someone checks a jar, a change drawer, a piggy bank or a roll of pennies and discovers one of these rare treasures worth thousands or even more than $1 million. That's part of what makes coin collecting so thrilling. In conclusion, the Lincoln wheat penny is more than just a 1-cent coin. It is a piece of American history, a canvas for fascinating minting errors, and occasionally a ticket to a life-changing discovery. Whether you collect coins as a hobby or you just like the idea of finding hidden treasure in everyday life, these coins are worth knowing about. Keep an eye on your pennies, especially old ones with wheat stalks on the back. You might just be holding a treasure worth far more than its face value. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and value of the Lincoln Wheat Penny, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. If you want a version that's more dramatic, more concise, or tailored to a particular audience, tell me and I can rewrite it. Welcome everyone. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting and one of the most beloved and legendary coins in American numismatics, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. These humble 1-cent pieces might look ordinary at first glance, but hidden among them are some of the rarest and most valuable coins ever sold at auction. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first introduced in 1909, marking the first time a United States circulating coin featured the portrait of a real person. That person was Abraham Lincoln, honoring his centésima birthday and celebrating his legacy as one of America's most revered presidents. On the obverse, or front of the coin, you see Lincoln's profile. On the reverse, you see two stalks of wheat, symbolizing prosperity and the agricultural backbone of early 20th century America. These coins were produced for nearly 50 years, from 1909 until 1958. They were made almost entirely of copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. By the time the series ended, billions of these pennies had been struck and passed into circulation. Most of them are common, worth only a few cents or maybe $1 or $2 to coin collectors today, but among these billions, there are a few incredibly rare and valuable exceptions. These are the coins that make collectors' hearts beat faster. Let's start with perhaps the most legendary of all, the 1943 Lincoln penny. During World War II, the United States Mint switched from using copper to using zinc-coated steel for pennies. Copper was needed for the war effort. Almost all 1943 pennies were made from steel, and if you pick one up today the front and back look silvery. But a tiny number of coins were mistakenly struck on copper blanks left over from previous years. These copper 1943 pennies are extremely rare. There are fewer than 40 known examples. One of these rare 1943 copper pennies sold at auction for well over $1 million. The exact figure varies as new sales occur, but it is recognized as one of the most valuable wheat pennies in existence. This one-error coin is what drives so much excitement in the hobby of coin collecting. The idea that a penny pulled from pocket change could be worth more than $1 million captures imaginations all over the world. Collectors and experts caution, however, that many fakes exist and authentication is essential. Only a genuine example certified by a major grading service is worth real money. Another extremely rare find is the 1909 ASVDB wheat penny. This was the very first year of the Lincoln cent with the designer's initials, BDB, on the reverse. The initials stood for Victor David Brenner, the artist who designed the coin. The initials were controversial and quickly removed later in the year, making the coins with VDB very collectible. The 1909 ASVDB has a low mintage of only around 484,000 coins, and high-grade certified versions have sold for six figures at auction. Other key dates include the 1914 AD Lincoln Wheat Penny from the Denver Mint, which had a very low striking and is hard to find in high-grade condition. The 1922 plain penny where the D mint mark never fully struck is another famous variety with significant collector demand. The 1955 double die obverse Lincoln penny shows a dramatic doubling of the letters and date on the front of the coin. That error variety has been highly prized for decades. Rare varieties can also come from unexpected production errors. For example, there are 1944 steel pennies, the opposite of the 1943 copper error. When the mint switched back to copper in 1944, some steel blanks were accidentally used again. Those 1944 steel pennies are also rare and valuable. Collectors look for these coins not just because of their monetary value but because each one tells a story of history, of minting practices, and of human error. These coins are tiny time capsules that connect us with the past. So what about coins from 1968? The Lincoln Wheat Penny series had ended a decade earlier. In 1959 the wheat penny design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, which continued until the year 2008. In 1968 collectors were finding and saving older coins and mixing them with the newer Memorial design pennies, but no wheat pennies were produced in 1968. If you come across a wheat penny dated 1968, it is either altered, counterfeit, or misread. Always check your coins carefully. Most wheat pennies you find in change are going to be worth face value or a bit more if they are old or in nice condition. But every once in a while someone checks a jar, a change drawer, a piggy bank or a roll of pennies and discovers one of these rare treasures worth thousands or even more than $1 million. That's part of what makes coin collecting so thrilling. In conclusion, the Lincoln Wheat Penny is more than just a 1-cent coin. It is a piece of American history, a canvas for fascinating minting errors, and occasionally a ticket to a life-changing discovery. Whether you collect coins as a hobby or you just like the idea of finding hidden treasure in everyday life, these coins are worth knowing about. Keep an eye on your pennies, especially old ones with wheat stalks on the back. You might just be holding a treasure worth far more than its face value. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and value of the Lincoln Wheat Penny, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. If you want a version that's more dramatic, more concise, or tailored to a particular audience, tell me and I can rewrite it.